So it's been about a year since I last reviewed my metal system, and it seems that the metal system is here to stay. However, when people built the metal system, well, there were some problems with it, and I too experienced those problems. However, given that a year has passed, the Lego Beyblade community and myself has solved some of these issues. And today in this video, I'm here to highlight some of these solutions in my metal system research report. Let's begin. Our first report is a fact that's been established since the first metal system video came out, but I failed to explain this monumentous detail further. In this example video here, do you notice anything wrong? Yes, I noticed something very wrong with that video. You see, the video I pointed out uses 2x2 plates stacked on top of each other to connect the layer with the driver, and many have used this method. However, this is the worst method of making metal system bays because of the gap created between the layer and driver. Instead, you should be using this Technic pin piece because this method eliminates the gap and gives you a better connection. Here's how to make a metal system bay using this Technic pin. Whenever I'm using this 2x2 Technic pin piece, I like to say that I'm using the SM or Standard Metal System method. However, if you do not have this piece, well, here's another method I found. This method is fantastic for making twist-activated gimmicks, so I call this method the TM, or twist method. Now, a thing to note about the twist method is that the circle plates on the driver should be completely removed. There's no use for them because you are using a 2x2 round break, okay? Besides layer methods, there's this one newly discovered driver method that greatly improves burst resistance, and is probably the best way to increase burst resistance on metal system bays. Discovered by MemeicideLBB, using studs instead of the normal circle plate allows for a stronger connection between the layer and driver. This essentially creates a dash driver, allowing for more burst resistance. However, having good burst resistance is nice and all. At the end of the day, having a tolerable balance on your Beyblade is best. And on metal system bays, this can be achieved with burst disc security. Or essentially, the disc on your metal system bay isn't loose. Now, I have been experimenting with ways to achieve the best burst disc security. And here are some of my findings. To start our unit on burst disc security, I want to talk about how the disc fits well in the layer of a metal system bay. To begin with, every burst disc has prongs, which is quite obvious. However, these prongs have a special interaction with Lego studs. To demonstrate this interaction, if I put the disc prongs on a 2x4 plate with studs facing down, the prongs will line up perfectly with the studs on the edge. This causes the disc to not have the flexibility to move as much. Applying this to metal system bays, the prongs of the disc will align up to the studs in the slot shown here. Therefore, to achieve the best burst disc security, you must get the disc as close to these studs as possible. And here are some methods to do so. My first suggestion is to remove the 1x4 plates on the east and west sides of a metal system bay and replace them with tiles. The reason for this change is because some discs like 00, like to press up against the 1x4 studs. The pressing against the studs causes some distance between the disc's prongs and the layer's stud slots. Also, make sure there's the correct height between the bottom of the layer and the disc's prongs. The incorrect height can make your disc act like this. My next suggestion is to identify a disc with a bottom that perfectly surrounds a real burst driver. Most of the time, these discs are core discs, GT discs from Tchaikovsky, and DB discs. But you have to experiment to find out. You can also broaden your range of discs by changing the tap parts of the driver. Different variations could allow for a stronger burst disc security. Once again, you must experiment. My final suggestion is one that is still experimental, so take it with a grain of salt.
Alright, so I'm going to explain my last suggestion like this because it's a lot easier. But the reason why this last suggestion is so experimental, it's because this suggestion deals with an entirely new way of making metal system bays. So here I have two bays. I have Legacy Thunderstriker, a bay that Mim asked me to design, and I have an updated Apophis. The main gimmick of the layer that makes it so different from other metal system bays is that how they disassemble is kind of different, right? So we have the base right here and shield, right? Now this might seem like some generic, system that you've seen on Whitetastic channel, but just wait, all right? This is integral to the metal system. So let's go take Apophis right here and let's assemble it, only using the base right here. Flip it over, put the driver, okay? So as you can see, the disc kind of loose. We don't want that. So this is where we put the shield on, right? So we put the shield on and the disc is not so loose. Now, why did I, disassemble the bay into two parts? Well, remember how I said the aim of the game was to get these stud slots right here of the bay as close to these disc prongs as possible? Well, because I divided the layer into two parts, I can push this shield, this shield part as far down as I can and hopefully coax the shield to touch those disc prongs and achieve a greater burst of security.
To conclude this report, I want to talk about the metal system's layer structure. Now, as of now, the metal system's layer structure is fine, but you have to consider, we put metal discs on these things, and we have these weird contact points nowadays. So you're gonna see a lot more explosions, and this is a problem. This is a problem, folks, okay? To solve this problem, we have to look towards Drago LBB's reverse system, or reverse building technique. This approach to making layers is quite secure because of how the layer interlocks. Two contact points are secured by a sliding method in a 2x2 plate. This allows for the layer to focus on the security of the other two contact points, creating an equal balance. You can check out the schematics of Drago's reverse system in the iCards or description below. It's a really cool system and I advise you to check it out. Now, in Drago's reverse system review video, he mentions this.
Now, there are two downsides with these layer bases. The first being you can only use stud up drivers, as the way the system works is the connection that connects the layer and the driver is stud up.
Well, stud down drivers can also work as well. If we take a 2x2 plate that connects these two contact points and replace it with a 2x2 hold plate, we can insert this weird Technic pin that I've mentioned before in the hole and use stud-up drivers. Now, once you put the bay together with this method, you'll notice that the bottom will drop down because of gravity. This can be easily solved by using adhesive or rubber bands to hold the bottom up. And once you have mastered this build, you have a strong layer structure. And if you combine all these pieces of advice together, Drago's reverse system, the SM method, proper burst disc security, and MemeicideLBB's dash drivers, you have the best way in making a metal system bay. However, the innovation must not stop here. I expect the Lego Beyblade community to tinker and challenge themselves with the metal system until the metal system is near perfection. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want. But like always, I'll see you guys in the next one.